Hi, this is my first recording that I've created. Apologies for how crude it might be. I would like to thank Margaret Code and Rosa Arlado and the others that are involved in running the Art Bar Poetry Series. I created this video so it could be broadcast on the Art Bar Facebook page in April 2020. The Art Bar Poetry Series is Canada's longest running weekly poetry-only reading series. It began in May 1991. This set should be 25 to 30 minutes or so. I thought I would read mainly narrative poems, many of which have more of a stage feel than a page feel, and almost all of them are more in the vein of performance poetry. Some have been performed in poetry slams. I'm going to do this in order of oldest to the most current. I'll be reading 9 poems. I will be mentioning the creation date for each poem I read, and that date represents the first time it was sent out to a journal or appeared in a chapbook, book, or anthology, whichever came first. All the poems I will read here have been published, and thanks to all the editors and publishers whose publications these poems have appeared in. As a content warning, there are mentions of suicide, death, pus, logging, a groin injury, F-bombs, cliches, eating chips and chocolate, the word gossamer, and wood flooring. So be prepared. The first poem I'm going to read was created December 17th, 1996. This is called Hotline. Hello, this is the suicide prevention hotline for poetry addicts. If you wish to rage against the dying of the light, press 1. If you feel like a pair of ragged claws scuttling across the floors of silent seas, press 2. If you want to slip the surly bonds of earth and dance the skies on laughter-silvered wings, press 3. If you have seen the best minds of your generation destroyed by madness, press 4. If you are a paltry thing, a tattered coat upon a stick, press 5. If you feel that dying is an art like everything else, and you do it exceptionally well, press 6. If none of these selections best describe your feelings of despair, please stay on the line. A poet will be with you shortly. The next poem I'm going to read was created March 10th, 1997. This is called Toxic Girl. I don't know what first drew me to Toxic Girl, like a moth to a flame, like a male black widow spider to his mate. Was it her lethal good looks, her organic waist, the supple hunch of her back, the napalm of her neck, her St. Valentine's Day mascara, her button-down cholera? My friends told me she was wrong for me. I had to choose between Toxic Girl and them. We moved to a different neighborhood where I got a job at the consulate. Kids teased her, calling her a witch and a circus freak. What did they know? They were only kids. Then one day, while Toxic Girl and I were walking around the block, again being hounded by snot-nosed adolescents, she got pricked by a prickly tree, and her festering Notre Dame bell-ringing grotesquely humanoid form burst. Kids grabbed pieces of the pus lady off the street. I normalized relations between my foot and their asses and chased them away with the same misshapen branch that was her undoing. I cried over the pus-filled pool that once was her, the syrup that was my sugar. I watched as the rest of Toxic Girl emptied into the storm drain. I held the mess that was her dress and vowed I would never love another like her. That night I burned the branch that took my baby from me, the wicked branch that changed my life forever, that murderous branch. I've decided to become a logger. I think it's what Toxic Girl would have wanted. This next poem was created January 29th, 2002. It's called my latest poem. The VCR is broken, and we don't want to miss our favorite programs, so we have to stay home every night this week. On Monday, I want to tell you that when I was 7, I fell off the swings awkwardly and hurt my groin. On Tuesday, I want to tell you how my father, when he was carving the turkey, asked, "Are you a breast man or a leg man?" On Wednesday, I want to tell you that my heroes when I was grade 7 were the Green Lantern and the Submariner. On Thursday, I want to tell you that for my next poem, I plan to put together a bunch of words that John Stiles will never use in one of his poems, like windswept, gossamer, Persephone, sycamore, and turgid. On Friday, I want to tell you my 3 rules about change. 1, you can't change your man. 2, you can't change your woman. 3, fuck change. Then the weekend comes and it's time to shop for a new VCR. Someone in my workshop tells me to avoid cliches like the plague, and kiss me like there was no tomorrow, and hold me and never let me go, or take me in your arms and tell me everything will be all right, or simply I love you. Cliches are bad unless you can turn them on their head, make them new. My latest poem was to be finished during a power outage, when we eat snack foods by candlelight and worry that the food in the fridge will go bad and that the shut-ins are freezing their balls off and the batteries in the flashlight are near death. I feel at this point in the poem I should repeat earlier lines like, the VCR is broken and we don't want to miss our favorite programs, so we have to stay home every night this week. But I can't decide which lines are worth repeating. You are Persephone. You are the poster child for chips and chocolate, and I want to munch on your windswept hair. Our clothes are clean thanks to the turgid agitator. I want to tell you how I fell off a bike and kissed the cold comfort of the ground. I want to tell you how I feel, but I have said it all before, and I can't decide which lines are worth repeating. I am working on a slogan, built-in obsolescence creates jobs. Do you like it? I like the clothes you wear and the way you adhere to your 3 rules. 1, you have the right to change your mind. 2, you will not wear white after Labor Day unless it conflicts with Rule 1. 3, nothing makes you look fat. I look into your gossamer eyes filling with tears, and I know VCRs are made to be broken. The sycamore makes you look thin. You are wearing white. You are wearing white and changing into something else. The batteries in the flashlight are going into the light. The batteries in the flashlight are going into the light. Let us light a candle for the batteries. Let us remember the batteries fondly. Kiss me like there were no supermarkets. Hold me as if there were no garage sales. Take me in your arms and tell me you didn't lose the receipt. I have to get the VCR fixed. We must go out. We must go out tonight. We must go out to the store and buy chips and chocolate. I love you. Maybe that's the only line that bears repeating. I love you. This next poem was created January 26, 2004. It's called Beyond the Eastern Edges of the World. On days when the world was something I wanted to put in a paper bag, leave at someone's door and set on fire, I'd wander outside and look down the street. These were days of hot afternoons and no buses in sight, and the branches of trees that lined the road acted like wind chimes. And I'd think about this other country my father went to whenever he had a heart attack or a stroke, a land he discovered beyond the eastern edges of the world. Each time he arrives, he is surrounded by inventors, and the men who put the toilet seat down, and the women who love them. And they tell him this is a land where they don't name their children after soap stars, where platform shoes are still the height of fashion. This is a land where there's reverence for poets who walk from town to town, reciting the poetry of everyday things. Odes to the wax used to seal kitchen floors, the taste of hot chocolate burning the roof of your mouth, the feeling of picking a hat up off the ground after a gust of wind placed it there. The mayor approaches my father and says, "We would like you to stay. We just need you to sign something. There's only one form in triplicate, so you have to use a ballpoint pen and press hard. But after this, there are no forms, no bureaucracy to raise a fist at, no politician or newspaper or public transit official to write letters to, no lineup to wait in. He will view distant canyons in blue sky, arching hazy clouds, and look over the hedge into the next yard, try to recall that secret he was keeping, whatever it was, but can't remember." This next poem was created January 31st, 2011. Carpenter Road for Claudio Duran. Carpenter Road, tell me how you grew in height, dreamed of the moon in your hands, how your bruises healed, how scrapes became scabs in the onslaught of dusk, how you dreamed of the hot summer sand and yellow flowers with your eyes of clean simplicity. Carpenter Road, tell me of the girl with dark hair around her face, how you wanted her in the rain with you, in that warm spring rain, the dragonflies taking a moment to drink the river water that inundates the aroma trees. Carpenter Road, tell me of the comings and goings of people, the soft movement of the hills, how the children grew up, moved away, how it has been years since they'd walked on your spine, years since you felt them grow heavier, stride faster, the moon overhead and listening, you stopping for a moment when night fog fell upon the snow, the gray streetlights rising, the salty wind singing its cold notes. Carpenter Road, tell me that all this mattered, that the tilt and sway of sex mattered. Tell me those who once knew you will be all right, that they'll find what they're looking for, perhaps in the voices of the reeds, and someday return with the invisible sounds of dawn. Their experiences, those dreams made of love and dust and light, will emerge from overgrown fields and greet them. Carpenter Road, snow surrounds your waist. Now that your children are older, they help their own children put on their coats, and you can finally hold the moon in your hands and take a bite out of it and say, "I have tasted the moon, and it tastes like a world of symbols, a structure of bones, a tropical storm falling on another life far from here, a neighborhood where you never lived." Carpenter Road, tell all those who've walked your gray pavement, you remember feeling their footprints on your skin. This next poem was created August 14th, 2011. A sea monster tells his story for Alexa. I have been hated and hunted my whole life. The sea's buoyancy, holding my skeleton aloft, holding this ocean enclosed by skin in the sea that no longer has anything for me. You are on the beach, and you say, "Do not give me things unbroken." And being a creature of the sea, I have no possessions. I can only give you everything. So at high tide, I come ashore and lie beside you. The moon has come out. The wind brings nature's fragrance, trees and blossoms, the salt of the sea. You say low tide is coming. I say I know, but I don't want to go. You say you don't want me to go, but low tide is coming. I say let it come. In the morning the water is gone. I can hear the ancient creak of my bones, my skin getting crispy. People from all around are coming to help, but I tell them with my eyes that I don't need their help, but they come anyways. They are pouring water on me. They have started a bucket brigade. They are trying to save me. And I tell them with my eyes, I don't want to be saved, but they are not listening. The sun is baking my skin. I feel weak. I can't think straight. When it is clear there is nothing to be done, you look into my eyes and ask why I didn't leave before low tide, why I couldn't be happy visiting for a few hours each night. I tell you I've been hated and hunted my whole life, and the sea held me until I found you, and I will not return to the sea. I can see it from the beach, and I can taste it in the air, along with the scent of flowers and you, but the sea has nothing for me. My eyes tell you I am where I've always wanted to be. This poem was created December 30th, 2011. This is called Tin Man. Everything dies, someone once whispered while you stood motionless. You wished for death. You picked out the place you want to be buried in, a scar in the earth. And what will they say of you, that you didn't die on the side of a mountain, dawn on your rusted face, that you once loved a woman and she loved you, that you wasted away to nothing? You tried to recall your mother's voice as lightning made your metal glisten blue. You never walked under a covered bridge, called it bad luck. You left that to those made of bone and blood. And they never would have understood why you still find yourself shaking in the corner, wishing for decades gone days when you'd wake in a ditch on a sunny morning, desire echoing through your hollow chest. You sit alone in an apartment looking out the window and tug on the line connecting you to all the places you have been. And of all the places you want to visit, why this one? The trees are turning their backs on autumn and the bridge is remembered for what it was, a starling in a nearby nest of trees, its hollow bones thundering into the window outside your room. For one instant the bird was perfect, complete. You remember washing blood off the glass. You dug a grave. Rain fell on your shoulders as you placed the bird in the pit, patted the dirt down with an axe handle. Everyone you have loved is dead. For a tin man, there is no life after this one. Your world changed when a girl approached with an oil can. If her lips could have formed one word, it would have been no. Don't wake me, you wanted to say, but couldn't. Everyone you have known is dead. You remember seeing your reflection in the shed window, knowing some part of him was more real than you. You knew this because all that time ago, years before the girl, you briefly raised your axe, and he waved his axe in return. This poem was created November 25th, 2012. It's called Séance. On Farmington Avenue in Connecticut, scant miles from the place where Mark Twain used to live, we asked the ghosts in. My older sister said the guardian would take control of the Ouija board, the planchette moving slowly over the wood letters. The red tablecloth, the candles spread about the room as if they were at a celebration of life or electricity. One candle in the middle of the table, something to catch the wax. It was the autumnal equinox. Our tie-dye shirts and bell-bottom jeans under makeshift robes our mother helped us make. The younger of my older sisters kept using a word she had just learned, facetious. No one was 15 years old. Contacting the dead was an art form. The artifacts were assembled, a pebble from a neighbor's rooftop, a switch from a corn broom, something dead and something alive under a crystal goblet. None of us had read The Monkey's Paw. The windows were covered. We held hands. The planchette moved. It did not tell us we would be moving in 6 months, leaving the friends we had made far behind. It did not tell us our father would have his first of 4 heart attacks in 10 years, be dead in 25. We asked the table to rise. My brother asked to speak to Houdini's mother. A swift kick in the shins was his reply. We were as far from trouble as you could be. It seemed my sister was making up the ritual on the spot. Wax dripped down candles. We asked for a sign. The floorboards above us creaked in response. It was our mother in the kitchen making cookies, listening to her music, more alone than we knew. Bead curtains hung in closets, girls' bedrooms in psychedelic paint, boys' bedrooms in sky blue. We were barely awakening to our lives. We were committed to the dead. We were going to lose all our friends. We were going to lose our father. In the flickering shadow of that musty basement, we said goodbye to our childhood. Our mother was losing her music, while I watched the bug under the upturned crystal goblet scurrying in all directions, trying to escape. And this is the last poem of this set. This was created October 16th, 2013. This is called The Perfect Library, for Carolyn Clink, after Patrick O'Leary's The Perfect City. Imagine, if you will, a perfect library, where the reading room is lit by the soft pulsing lights of fireflies, and the wood that furnishes it is from exquisite trees felled by mountain men with bulging biceps, where you can find the fold-out book of universes and newspapers including the Barsoom Evening Post, the Fanciful Times of London, the Atlantis Monthly, where you can find dictionaries of made-up words, the histories and alternate histories of things that never happened, the Book of Extinctions and Lost Civilizations, the Book of the Living, the Book of the Dead, the Book of the Living Dead, where the reference desk is staffed by ancient librarians with leathery wings who can tell you about the Big Bang and everything since, because they were there. A perfect library where the books read other books and join book clubs, arguing what they're about, and when they're done, they shelve themselves. Where you can find books smaller than a fingernail and larger than a bus. Where the listening room has pillow headphones handed out by flapper girls sporting steampunk goggles so you can hear the music mountains make, the pent-up frustration of dormant volcanoes, the budding awareness of spring moss growing on the sides of trees, the stirring of the planets. The perfect library where documentaries are available in a screening room with reclining bucket seats, and fresh pot buttered popcorn and drinks are served by male models wearing gladiator and toreador costumes, where the photocopiers never run out of toner, paper, or patience and never break down, where the carpets are cleaned by pilotfish taking a break from Shark Week, where bathrooms are hands-free and fairies use a press leaves from gilded books to fan your hands dry, where the map room has an infinite number of maps and old sea serpents using walkers gingerly slip from the canvases to lead library tours, where their archives and special collections contain books that have turned to dust and patrons are asked to wear white gloves and to refrain from sneezing, where people in the quiet room can hear the buildings settle. I have not mentioned the mermaid swing, the petting zoo of extinct species, the 2,000 years of cement exhibit, the dungeon of dead technologies, the wall of human existence, the glass tube ride through the sunken city. This is the library you dream about, the perfect library, and I can see you want to go there. You want to knock on its heavy oak doors and say, "Let me in." And if you finally find yourself there, you will discover the perfect place, past the reading room of exquisite wood and fireflies, past the guided tour, the swing, the dungeon, past the gladiators and toreadors and flapper girls, to the place where you have a view on the garden, the natural light finding its way in, And there, in a glass case, you will find the first library card you were issued, the first book you signed out as a child. And you are there with your parents again, when you could barely see over the counter, and you are glad you finally have a chance to thank them for taking you to your first library, the perfect library. And you realize this is where you have been all along. Thank you.